Yeah, it's live. It takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes
Oh, okay, to load.
for all the different platforms to
Oh,
come
okay.
on. Hang on. Let's see. Damnation. Damnation.
Hi,
Okay. All right, forget that. All right, what do we got here? 6 people in the house. I'll give it a little bit longer.
Allison. Hey,
Denise,
Denise. Hey, Anna.
Anna's here. Allison, Denise.
Good to
Man,
be
this has
here.
been this has been like I haven't seen you what, like 2 years?
I know. I was just looking like, when was the
It
last time we
was
talked?
I was in Hawaii, so I went to
Oh,
Hawaii
that's right.
in 2018. So
Okay.
it was in 2019. It was about a year and a
Yeah.
half ago.
Well, that makes sense. Right before everything slightly changed.
We were in Hawaii. I thought we were going to live there forever. But
Oh,
so
you were in Kauai.
I don't really get to really in depth, like go on the news feed. I look for stuff to share in the Soulogy group, but I work pretty fast. But I do
Yeah.
pick up people's energy. And one of the things I noticed about you, which was, why I said, let's talk about this on the show before we were talking, is that, there's a lot of women out there and there's a few men, but I mean, for the most part, there's that a lot of divine feminine energy out there
Mm-hmm.
that in their own way have been downloading sacred wisdom for a long time. And they all do
Mm-hmm.
it. They all do it differently, but you can kind of tell the ones that have a feel for the what's going on in the collective.
Yeah.
And so I pick up on your energy. I read some of your stuff, and I'm like, okay, she's got that. So my question to you, this is my personal one. Then I'll try to pull some from the audience. But my question is like, so how does that work for you? How do you
Mm-hmm.
receive your stuff? Like, what's your clair? Like, how does that come into your field? Do you have to seek it? Does it just come to you, or how does that work?
Yeah, really good questions. Hi, everybody who said hello. Yeah, so for me, I just hear it. It's just kind of a clear audience, um, download. It wasn't always like that, but that's really how it's been since 2012
Yeah.
because of what happened. And I also have been working with the Akashic Records for about 15 years. So I have a grasp on the timelines and some of the time codes. So it
Hmm.
really is just kind of a sit down, okay, writing stuff. It just kind of starts coming through.
Right on.
It's really just in
Right
the
on.
moment. Because I speak light language, a lot of it will come through in maybe language, or I'll get, a graphic. So I
Mm-hmm.
really like to tune into visually what's happening,
Right
and
on.
then I might get the words later. Um, but also, Todd, maybe even as many of you watching, I'll get things years ago. So, like you said, we were on in 2019. I've been writing notes and downloads since 2012. So some of it is actually information I received a while ago, but
Yeah.
now it's ready to be shared.
Yeah.
So I'm really just in the stream of what's happening
Yeah.
and when.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and then I've
Hmm.
seen on our Facebook memories because Morgan's like you. She gets that type of intel,
Yeah.
and the
Hmm.
same thing will come up at the same time
Yeah.
every year. So you
Yeah.
really see the
Exactly.
cycles of it, but you also see the expansion of it. And I
Yes.
know, like from when I reawoke or whatever, one of the first things was when things would happen, or I'd get that epiphany or that revelation download,
Hmm.
the past, present, and future would merge. Like
Yes.
so, all that stuff from back there that I didn't get
Hmm.
at the conscious state I was then, I did now. So it
Yes.
was really, that's really the kind of the same thing you're talking about. So
Yeah, that was great.
let me ask you this.
Pretty cool.
So okay, let me ask you this first. So are you one of those light workers like me who just stay to themselves and do their work, or do you have are you real active like socially?
Um, well, it depends. I like in 2012, there's moments or years. Like there was so much happening, right? 2012, 13, 14. And then it was kind of like, okay, let's compile all the data, right? And so I really just move in personally, but I do move in the collective. Like,
Yeah.
what's everyone ready to see? A lot of us have
Yeah.
brought in future information, and it's not ready to be either publicly talked about, or it is just for online. I'm not super social outside of online. I do have like a core group. Um, but again, that changes too. I'll be guided, go here, go there. I need to
Yeah.
go and
Yeah.
talk to, like you
Yeah.
travel. I traveled for 4 years
Yeah.
and
I
and
think,
just right. Like,
yeah, and you described that so well, because like 2012, give or take a year, and I know other people didn't fit that, but for the most part, there was something going on then. And to me, it kind of boomed, and there was a lot of personal interaction. Like
yeah,
everybody was like, "Oh my God, I'm not the only one." Hey, I know you. You're kindred to me, and that
yeah,
resonates. And people falling in love with a different person every day, and all
yeah,
that. But then like you said, we compiled all the
yeah.
information, and now we're kind of finding our way, which is kind of cool.
Hmm.
But like, I
Exactly.
mean, so to me now, I don't know, what are your thoughts? But to me now, it's like, okay, we've got enough information. Everybody gets it differently,
Yeah.
but there's enough information. We're past the 51% mark. We're
Yes.
past the 100th monkey. And to me, the only way to do it is to activate it, is to engage it,
Yes.
and actually put it out there. Because I do think
Hmm.
it's safe now to put it out there,
Yes.
because you
Hmm.
don't see light worker platforms. I say light worker, starseed. I hate to label anything, but you
Yeah.
don't see platforms that are not getting deep and engaging the narratives, getting
Mm-mm.
deplatformed.
Hmm.
And I believe that we're kind of like under the radar, and
Hmm.
by our own vortex that we
Yeah.
create a field of protection,
Yes.
expanding field of protection. What are your thoughts?
Yes, that was really well said, and so I was seeing the ripples, and I talked about the fractals, right? So 2012, everybody lit up, and that's when I had my greater awakening. And then it was, okay, who's in my monad or soul group? Um, and then again, 3 years later. So I see these 3 and 7 year cycles. And so, like you said, we're in this space of now it's time to implement everything that all of us have been doing over the years.
Hmm.
And there was so much density that I think when I came on the scene, it was like, gung ho, ready to go. And okay,
Yeah.
everybody, right? Like, where's my 7? Let's go. Where's my 12? Whatever. Let's go. Let's kick some ass, And then it was like, wait a minute, this planet's not quite ready,
Yeah.
and we're not quite ready. So I
Yeah.
feel like, right?
It's kind of like when people wake up, and I did it, and you like start telling all your friends and your
Yeah.
family, and they're like, "What?" And you see these posts of people going, "Man, I'm telling my friends and family, but they won't listen to me."
And I'm like, don't tell your family, don't tell your family. But it depends. Like, I've always had support for the most part. I mean, I was raised like very organic. I'm in California. My parents went into New Thought movement in the 70s.
Oh
So
wow.
I kind of had like this basis of understanding. And so when my dad said, "Hey, you're kind of out there in the universe," I'm like, "It's your fault, Dad. Like, you started it." Like,
He was already far out, but you were further out.
exactly, and he said that recently. He said, "You know what? You're doing, like, everything a lot of things we talked about in the 70s, you and a lot of people, you guys are actually
Yeah.
implementing in real time a lot of the concepts
Yeah.
that we had to embody, in a way." So I think I had that, but it really is the embodiment phase, don't you think, Todd? I mean, we're in
Absolutely.
that place that we're embodied, we're healed, the feminine's gone through it, the masculine is really grounding those very beautiful codes
Yeah.
today even. I feel very much a lightness in the field between those two polarities,
Yeah.
which is what we've been doing collectively, bringing into wholeness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us were all excited about it, but oh crap, I still have, child wounds or masculine wounds or whatever that have yet to be
Yeah.
identified and integrated.
Yeah, I
So,
like what you said about the masculine and feminine energy being
mhm,
kind of light, like the relationship being kind of light. It's getting
mm,
lighter, and
isn't it?
that's got to be affecting everybody, because that's a a collective kind of chore. We can all do what we can do, and we
That's
can do a lot.
everything.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
because if you look at the original blueprint for humanity, which I talk about a lot, if you go back to the origin. Hi, Gillian. Great. Of the Adam and Eve. I talked about the Adam Cadman, the Eve template. If you
Right.
look at those original codes, because a lot of things are based on that, what happened and what is the story around that, right? Which is a man against woman, female against male. It started really
Separation.
early. Yeah, separation
Do
and
you
the
think
serpent.
do you think I'm just curious, Morgan has a saying. Let me just say this about embodiment. First
Yeah.
of all, she told me for 2 years, she told me nothing matters till you embody it. And for 2 years,
Mhm.
I asked her about once a
Yeah.
month, what the hell does that mean? But I get what you're saying, and it's so multi-dimensional too. It's not
Yes.
just yeah. I forgot the other
Yeah.
thing we were talking about.
Oh, Adam and Eve,
Oh,
original template.
yeah. No, I forgot. But I did see. Oh no, I know what I was going to ask you. So another thing she says is a copy is a copy is a copy in a multifaceted way.
Mhm.
And that makes sense to me because when I think about, which I don't spend much time thinking about, okay, how did this all start? So
Yeah.
you had a one, and that one made a conscious thought to split.
Mhm.
And to me, that's the mother, the
Yes.
feminine, the
Mhm.
universe, and
Yeah.
created in total faith,
Yeah.
this polarity. So
Mhm.
my question is, going back to the original blueprint, do you think that was a copy of creation? If my theory is, the first cell split and that's how it started, but I mean, do you think that was like a copy of creation?
Well, yes and no.
Mm.
Um, I will say, as you were saying, what I was seeing and what came to me, what Gaia had communicated in early 2012 was um, is the yin yang symbol, is that perfect balance of masculine and feminine with just a little dot in each one to understand what
Mhm.
the other one, right, has to go through. And so I feel like that is, I guess, the visual narrative for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Because if we're in that equality, on a perfection level, if you want to say that that is us in this divine way, well, have we been that way? No. I think that was for me the visual
Hmm.
to understand how do we bring back into balance? Because before we can move into wholeness, there has to be a beautiful dance,
Yeah.
between the two,
Yeah.
um, in this in a healthy, aligned way,
Yeah. Hence
with
that lighter
right?
and lighter, hence that lighter and lighter energy field that is their relationship.
Yes, exactly. Because if we can come into that wholeness, well, then there's a sense of that the merging is actually what we talk
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
The eros gamos, the merging, the divine couples, and
Mhm.
having that purity of recognition. Because what happens, as you know, because you're in that relationship, I've had many of those, but that pureness and the divine, that sense of love, because
Yeah.
that's what creates the wholeness. And then we come
It's in
into
it's
balance.
in to me, it's got well, for me anyway, it's inexplicable unless you experience it, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's, there we're in I guess I'm in a stage, or we're in a stage, I can't really say I'm in a stage, but where the oneness thing is just doing stuff that, everything from, highly erotic to just like, almost paranormal.
Yeah.
Really is. I mean, if we're going to use human words, but like for
Hmm.
instance, like about 10 days ago, Morgan, we were laying in bed and we just kind of went straight to bed, but something was happening, and in her mind, her body was moving, but it was my body that was moving.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there was this crossover, and then last night we usually go to bed together, but last night I was tired. I just went and lay down, and I was just connecting, And while I was connecting, I was on my side because I kind of wanted to go to sleep, but it would, you know how that stuff when it comes in, it's just not
Yeah.
going to take no for an answer.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, now she's in the other room. I can hear the TV going on. She's watching a Netflix thing, and I feel somebody pull the sheet. And I thought, oh, no, that's not. And then it did it again when I
Oh,
questioned it.
wow.
And so I just kind of checked, and immediately I knew it was her.
Mm,
So these things are, you know, I think these things, not just like in those situations, but
yeah.
the telepathy, the intuition, the ability to, you know, astral, I wouldn't say astral, but just
Yeah.
bilocate or whatever,
Hmm.
teleport, whatever. I think these things are coming in as softly as they can because this is the most mind blowing part of it. It's not the narratives.
Exactly. It's the experiential piece. And,
Mm,
we've had access to this, these frequencies. Really, it's just frequency, right? If you go
yeah,
back to the origin, it's all frequency. So we've had access to these. And, I think part of the retemplating, as I talk about templates and timelines a lot, is again original template. So if you're building with original template, original codes of creation,
yeah,
what is built from that, which is what the divine couples are about, right? You're carrying that energetic blueprint. So when you come together, you are literally building worlds, and there's
yes,
such beauty, right? There's such high, I'm getting chills.
yeah,
It's if there's such beauty and such divine love that what
yeah,
anything that's built from those creations, whether it's a physical child, whatever, whether it's a metaphysical creation, you're creating from that place of such love and wholeness. And yes, we're at that place, and there's so many of these couples that are so clear, like you and Morgan, on what you're doing here,
yeah,
and acting as a template for others.
yeah,
And many of us have been acting as templates for others, for the collective, for each other. But really, it's collective now, as you said. We've
yeah.
done our work.
Yeah, it is. It's collective, and
It's,
you know, to that point too. We met some quite a few androgynous
Mhm.
beings, you
Yes.
know, that are
Yep.
carrying the same type of, you know, what you're describing. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's becoming what, you know, what brought us all together has to be affecting the whole world. First of
Yes,
all, you
it
know, it's
is.
not like we're the only ones awake, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, but well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that which is, let's just say, non-physical,
Hmm.
magical,
Yeah.
alchemical,
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
getting louder and louder
Yeah.
and louder. And I
Yes.
think the most interesting part to me is the effect it's having on human interaction and personal relationships of all sorts,
Hmm.
how we communicate,
Hmm.
and what's okay. You know, like kind of stay in your own lane and don't even get out there and think about this or think about that because, quite frankly, Todd's a full-time job, you know, and this energy.
Yes, totally. And I was just reading, thank you, Jillian. She's talked about Eros Gamos and
Mm,
why she felt to keep away from it because it has been hijacked. So thank you for bringing that up because
yeah,
it has. It has. Because imagine if you have all these, masculine, feminine coming together in such a high level of clarity. Um, the creation, it supersedes anything. Nothing
yeah,
can come in. And so, of course, if you hijack it, it just means that you're inserting some type of false narrative,
yeah.
which isn't that what we've been running for so long on this planet? It's been a
Many,
false narrative.
many millions and billions of
It's
programs.
a long time.
But
So,
but like, isn't that crazy though? I mean, let me just ask you because I know you've been in this a long time, and I
what
know
is
you.
crazy, Todd? I don't know.
Well, but isn't it crazy with all the complexity out there, you know, and all the different choices and programs and streams and all that, that even whether it's a couple or an individual or whatever,
Yeah.
that it actually comes down to just being yourself and, you know,
Yes.
getting in touch with yourself and then seeing that other person in you. To me, that's what it is. Like, when is this equilibrium for Todd? Anyway, I just use myself
Yeah.
that I have with Morgan. When am I going to be able to turn to Valerie or Jennifer or Patricia or
Hmm.
Janet or Elke
Yeah.
and feel it, like that's, to me, that's what it represents. It represents wholeness, I guess.
Yeah.
And it can be an individual or a couple or a group.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, and that was beautiful. And I saw this coming in, and then I see it in waves. The individual, I said the individual group, the individual unions, they're turning into the group union, right? We're
Mm,
going from one to
mm,
the group,
mm,
and it's a fractal. And I see this in how my groups come together, whereas a lot of times it'll be three, right? It'll be that triangle. And then I've started to see the four come in. So it went from a triangle to a square to a pillar, right? And these aren't necessarily romantic relationships,
no, 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 I get you.
right? Okay, so that's
I,
the other thing we had to grow up
mm.
as a species
No, I get
because
you because
right?
I actually had that coming like a year and a half or
Yeah, the
2 years ago.
fractal.
It was just a short period, but I remember the numbers kept, like, was like 4, 8, 16, 64, 128, and just 256.
Yeah.
I almost remember him up into the thousands, but I remember telling Morgan back then, because all I ever got was the 369, and I said,
Yeah.
yeah, me too. 369, 12, and all the the exponents of that, but yeah, there's something about that four energy. It's almost like it's the next, like
Iteration.
the next, yeah, exactly.
Right? So what
Yeah.
happens with 4? Now you've got two pairs. And so the two pairs in union, right? It's just I'm seeing like the cell division because
Yeah.
I work a lot in that sacred geometry, as many of you do, right? Where I'm seeing like the perfection of the I this is where my geek comes in because I do work in sacred geometry. So I can see the geometry coming in and I can tell based on what it is. So a lot of us code out of that, geometry, like the tetrahedron, the different sides. So if you really look at what geometry is, there's that refraction and reflection. So you could say we go from, the inside and then we go on the outside. We go
That's
from
right.
individual and then
That's
it
right.
goes collective, right? And this is it. It's the in and out. It's the yin and yang.
Yep. It's like the same equation over and over again into these multi dimensional degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like that, that what you're talking about. I mean,
Hmm.
as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So on one hand, you can
Yes.
you know that it's
Mirrored.
far greater than you, but
Yes.
at the same time, in the paradoxical perfection of the universe, you know that it's all you. So
Yes.
it's like,
Exactly. Right? So we get it. So a lot of people understand that. And that's the mirrored effect. And that's like you said, the 100th monkey. There's
mhm,
enough of us. Yes, Terry, seeds of creation. There's enough of us that are holding these, seeds of creation that have been lovingly polished.
mhm,
And we've had a lot of pressure, many of us, in order to, shine in this way. And that's what the reflection is. So you
yeah,
and Morgan are reflecting this beautiful divine union, Eros Gamos energy, as many other couples have been.
mhm,
And it's almost instant. I mean, I notice this in my own universe when someone comes in and it's not in alignment, it's like, nope,
right.
it's instantly moved out. So I have noticed those of you who are not in these couples, and I'm not in one right now. Although again, I've had very high level relationships over the years, but I am noticing it's an instant, nope, they're not,
Yeah.
move it out if it's not in a full
Isn't
alignment.
isn't everything moving that way though? Have you noticed? And
Yes,
like everything's
totally.
becoming, people talked about the Great Divide, like
Yeah,
these people are over there and these people are over there, but it's not. It's right
yeah.
here. It's
It's
like
right here.
it's louder and louder and louder, and you feel it in your body if you just do
Oh
something.
yeah. It's like,
So
hell
many
no.
things, yeah, like so many things we do or have done, we're
Yeah,
not even, it's beyond subtle. We're not even aware. We're unconscious. It's a blind spot. So
yeah,
then you notice one day that, why did I do that? Why did I just give my power away? Why did I just do something
yeah,
out of
like,
alignment with myself? And it was all just basically conditioning,
yeah,
cultural influence, whatever you want to call it.
yes, totally. I just wrote about monads. I don't know if you saw that post about
Mm-mm. Tell me about it. Monads are
Yeah, look
very
at me.
interesting to me. Yeah, tell me
I'm
about it,
going
because
to
then I
my
have a
post.
question. Then I have a question for
Let
you
me go to
about.
my wall. I
Well, let
just
me
want
ask
to
you.
read it.
Let me
Yes.
ask you the question first, and maybe that.
Okay, Aspen. Yeah.
So I know nobody has it figured out totally, but kind of the way I see it, so I can explain it, is
Yeah.
for myself is of course one, then oversoul,
Yes.
and then uh, from there it becomes higher self, but higher self's kind of like all the way up through it, but it's just that's like maybe they say that's the go-to, and then everything else, galactic and angelic and so on.
Mhm.
So how does the monad fit in there? Is there a monad at every stopping point there?
Yes.
Okay.
Ish.
Yes. Well, like we were shown several different monads. We were shown a monad in out of order, but
I'll say soul
we
groups, right? I'm going to say soul groups.
ultimately we were shown a monad of 12. And
Hmm.
in that monad of 12, now this was after some other monads.
Okay.
I'm just starting like what I guess I would see as the top that I've experienced.
Hmm.
So there was 12, and the being that came up to speak with us was her and me in that being.
Yes.
So then we had another one that was 24 and another that was 36.
Hmm.
And I think it was the one that was 24. I might have got that second number wrong, but it was actually one that recalled memories of 60 years ago when we all said, this is what we're going to do when we come here, which was at the time like 2 years before I was born. Right. So,
Yes.
yeah. So how does that work? Or can you add to that and read us your post?
Okay. I said since the weekend, it's as if those in different resonant fields or monad soul groups cannot see, hear, or feel you. And I wrote new tones. Originally, I had galactic tones, right? So it's the frequency of what you're emanating.
Uh-huh.
And so I could see that there was a shift happening. People
Uh-huh.
that I was working with shifted out, and then I
Yeah.
had new people of a higher resonant frequency come
Coming
in,
in. Yeah.
right? So we started creating on a different tone. So
So
in general, does that make sense?
repeat that first part again.
Of my post or what I just
Yeah.
said?
Yeah. Yeah. Your post.
Oh, okay. Since the weekend, it's as if those in different resonant fields or monad (parentheses soul groups)
Mm-hmm.
cannot see, hear, or feel you. And then I put new tones, galactic
Okay.
tones
Okay.
was the hashtag, which
So
does
it
that make sense?
sounds to me like what you're describing, which I can tell you it resonates very deeply with
Mhm,
our experience.
mhm,
But anyway, it sounds like there was almost like a substantial shift or adjustment or alignment or something
mhm,
where things that were congealed down here might not be congealed up here, right?
mhm,
Not that they won't like come back together, but like
mhm.
so there was like a significant shift or something like that. Is
Yes,
that
yes,
yeah? Okay,
significant.
fine.
Which some people say timelines because what
Yeah,
happens with, right, it's almost like timelines are just a way to figure out collectively what we're going to hold. So I
yeah.
say, what does everybody want to hold? What is the collective saying yes to on a consistent basis? And then it's almost like I'm just seeing steps because you're just bringing together, right, steps. So it's not such a big gap anymore from one step to another.
Hmm.
Now it's closer because collectively we are holding a much higher frequency than we did, in 2012, which is why many of us are here incarnated at this time and
Yeah.
aware on different levels what our role is and what we're doing, right?
What's your take on? And this is kind of a
I'm
weird
Italian, I
question.
talk with my hands.
Yeah, spaghetti, lasagna. So I love Italian gangster movies. Uh, God dang, I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Sorry, I throw
Oh
you.
no, I know what it was. So like, what's your take on? And I know we're not dealing with numbers. Let's just say votes, right?
Uh-huh.
I know we're dealing with energy, and some people's energy is this, and some people's energy is lower or higher, or whatever. But in terms of like the power, okay,
Mhm.
of the false narratives and how much attention is being given to that versus the power and energy of those that you describe? Like, where do you see that in balance or imbalance on the earth?
Um, you don't want numbers. You're just looking for.
No, like, 60/40 or, like
Oh, okay.
50/50.
So I do track that. I track because I look into the Akashic records. At one point, I was given access to look at the records of humanity. So I was able to kind of
Wow.
see. I know it was like I kept checking every month. Can I look at it now? But only to take a temperature of where's everybody at, because I want to
Right.
see like what core trauma, what is the trauma of humanity? What are people running? And so I noticed over time where it was. Now it might be updated on a higher level, soul level, but then it takes time, as you
Hmm.
know, to actually
Yeah.
come in and show itself in the actual 3D time and space.
Yeah. Right on.
So you said 64. 60/40 sounds about accurate. I think the last year has brought us much
Yeah.
clarity.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think so. I think
in the
so.
collective,
I like that assessment. I think
right?
so. There's something about the understanding that nothing in the universe is certain, but it is
Yeah,
certain, kind of thing. In other words, don't get too big for your britches. But
yeah,
there's a certain feel to me that I got to say maybe started in late 2019. Definitely last year was
yes.
but that this 60%
Mhm,
is like, it's
mhm.
like just getting started. You know what I mean? Like
It
that other
totally,
40 doesn't have a chance, but you can't take your eye off of it, at the
it
same time.
totally. Well, the mass awakening was 2020. That
Yeah.
was like many of us have talked about, the levels of awakening. They were coming in because the waves were waking up. And the mass awakening was 2020. That has been happening in the last
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
right? Because attachment to these things that don't matter, attachment to the material world,
Right.
attachment to things that most people consider important.
But
It really was,
it's getting down to the itty bitty nitty gritty now. It's
yeah,
like
really
things like,
important.
do I buy car insurance? Do I pay taxes? Do I
Yeah,
take out a loan? Do I
yes,
go do what the government's, do I wear a mask? Do I, whatever it
yeah,
is.
everything.
And it's like
Questioning
coming
everything.
down, yeah. It's coming down to these natural things or unnatural things we've been doing as humans in the
Yeah.
physical, right?
Janet said, "How about 55/45?" Sure, sounds good. I mean,
5149 is fine with me.
we're
As long
getting
as I know,
closer.
as long as I know is we're past the half point waypoint.
I do have some language shots. Sometimes it's easier for me to
Bring
speak
it, bring
in
it.
language and then I can translate. I have been translating a lot more. That's another thing from, like I work a lot in the galactic energies. I really had to come and bring it into, this time and space. So I've had to, and I've wanted to really ground a lot more because that's part of the embodiment. Even if you're galactic, you still have to bring it down.
Yeah, yeah.
And perfect. My neighbor's redoing their house. Um, so,
It's funny.
um,
It's funny because right before you said you were going to do the language, my next question was going to be regarding the galactic. Yeah,
perfect. Okay, we're ready to go.
yeah, we are.
So the languages are just again a frequency, and is that too loud? I'll have to shut my.
I can't hear it.
Oh, okay,
We,
good. It's out of
we
my
can't
left
hear
ear.
it. No, we
Yeah.
can't hear it.
Okay. Thanks, Patricia. She's talking to me. Um, I'm just gonna say because someone's just talking about their friends. It's sad watching them still asleep. Very good question, and it's not our job to wake them up. They've had opportunities. There is a wave happening, and that started a year ago. So just to be in your own frequency is enough. It's just sharing what needs to be shared. And that's why a lot of us have been online for years. We're just sharing what's coming through.
Hmm.
But it's up to each individual to take that and make it their own, right?
Right on.
So we're not here to wake anybody up. We're here to
That's right.
share our story and share our frequency and share our heart and what we've gone through. That's really
Yeah,
what it's about, right?
that's right.
Um, hey. So, okay, let me see a little language. I might have to shut that. Um, Tata tsamba tabushtanza chakutsamba shacha borande tahotade na takatsil shu tukan senjavati amar taekani na mahunane tahotu kaushtai, which is really just kind of a galactic mother, um, message of, we're all part of the same family. We
Hmm.
are all soul family. We're connected with threads that many of you might not be able to see. And so it's the connection. We're one species. We are the human species.
Yeah.
And we're reconnecting to our original blueprint means we're all family. And when you see everybody as family, well, you're not going to hurt each other. Yeah, you're
Hmm.
not going to go to war with each other. And so this galactic feminine creation energy, that you mentioned in the beginning, this is how the creation begins.
Hmm.
And so many of us are here to remind each other what is really important.
Yeah.
And it's coming into that feminine frequency. It is that divine mother, that love, that's a high level of love, which really is what they say 5D. 5D is just a dimensional reality
Yeah.
based in the heart. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
That's right.
So, right, we're getting back to that place. We're getting back to the resonance of the heart and what that really means.
Very true. Very true. And it's affecting every single aspect of our experience. Yeah. So
Deep breath.
in terms of the galactics,
Hmm.
I kind of have this I guess thing where I want to do my part to kind of merge the disclosure and
Hmm.
conspiracy and starseed platforms with conversation. And but in terms of the galactics, one of the things that I find interesting right now is that over the last one, two, three, 3.5 months or so, there's been a real uptick in the mainstream media
Hmm.
and these places that we know they're feeding us stuff about
Hmm.
UFOs,
Hmm.
more every day, and technology and different things like that. But at the same time, there's a very powerful galactic element to our experience up to this point.
Hmm.
You know, do you feel like there's going to be like a physical manifestation of our aspects as galactics, on a scale that's not singular or like me and Morgan in the bedroom or something like that happening,
Hmm.
but like where, it'll be seen in the linear scale?
I think we'll get to that place. I think we will. I mean, I don't know when, because that's a grand leap for most people,
Hmm.
which is why we've been connecting the dots, in a non-linear way.
Yeah.
But I think at some point, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a when.
Actually,
Because
it'll
we
probably,
are,
it'll probably be a
oh,
lot more than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we're, the galactic just means we carry that cosmic DNA, so it's part of who we are.
Wow.
It just hasn't been an integral part of our upbringing as it was with our ancestors,
Yeah.
right? So the ancients, they're all connected.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
right? And so, these cities of light that started popping up, people have been
Hmm.
moving to different places, right? Holding the frequency on the earth that aligns with the cities of light in the other realms. And so that's the first step, just because we're rejoining, in a sense, our galactic family.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just,
right?
the information's coming in so fast in so many different ways for everybody.
Yeah.
The
Exciting.
capacity to stay focused and realize that it's going to be as more ease and grace if you
Yeah.
stay on your own stuff and all that stuff. But
More
it's
easy.
like, it. I think actually it's going to be way beyond
What
galactic.
anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be, we're literally going to be
Yeah.
beyond Greek gods. I mean, just our lineage is
Yeah.
all of that.
It's
Everything you
royal.
can associate with the earth, every myth, every legend,
Yeah.
everything. That's what we're bringing into a central point. This is an interesting comment that our beautiful sister Pamela Johnson just said.
Yes.
The last week-long wave is bristling the ones who are resistant
Oh.
to do their work. What do you think about that?
Oh, good one. That's a
Certainly.
great comment. I'm gonna speak in language first. Atama nakhatubakita ku chambe I katuvashta tahiki stai u le lahotavard stai tsanda ela mahanda ikutaburunja ikatsanda. um, yes, Atlantis is coming through. Orion's coming through. A lot of aspects of why you came here, what it's about. Because I've had these discussions before. Because there are people saying, "Hey, I see your soul blueprint, and you're supposed to be doing this."
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed it more with the masculine,
Mm-hmm.
not either feeling it or, trusting someone who says, "Hey, I see it." But what I say is, we're in a body. You will have free will and choice. Now, you might have to come back to Earth to repeat, which is again choice. So it really doesn't matter what I tell you,
Yeah,
what
no,
somebody else,
I get
right?
what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. And I think that
Right.
the free will thing is absolute. So what I kind of get is, and this is just my own thing, is that the closest thing to us is the galactic. Now the
Hmm.
elementals there, we might call it the angelic is there, but
Yeah.
there's something about the galactic that feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a kind of a mission, kind of a purpose or
Yeah.
multi-purposes,
Mhm.
which is a group effort, and
Yes.
it has a potential to expand the universe. Now, at the same time, we don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like we have that knowing from that galactic aspect. It's a strong aspect, and it kind of gets Syrians sometimes or Arcturians, but at the same time,
Can I ignore him
I
so long?
yeah, like I guess, yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
agree. So it has been very intense. Today feels, like I said, very light,
yeah,
at 1:44. So, if you have especially if your role is higher, like someone reached out to me and said, "I don't know why I'm reaching out to you." And I said, "Okay, well, it feels galactic. You probably have a higher role that you might not be aware of." Because she's like, "I feel something. I just don't
right,
know what it is." So I agree. We definitely, because the frequency is so high that if you're doing this work at all, you
yeah,
can't ignore it too long,
no.
or things will come around and you'll get a really strong message.
You'll get sick,
Something,
and it's not even like, okay,
yeah,
let's say there's 100 programs in each person, and I've got 60 running and you got 12.
yeah,
It can be one program. It can be one part of one program that you're
yeah,
not willing to look at or not hearing or not seeing.
yeah,
Although I think the energy right now, as the days go by, is in your face more every day.
yeah.
So, but yeah, that
Yes,
you know,
Candace agreed. And
yeah,
here's another thing, Todd, is there's not just one person who carries what you carry. That's another
yeah,
important piece. It's not like one person's going to come in with that information. There'll be more of us. So, like Pamela's saying, aspects, exactly. Been aspecting with our galactics for decades, working
yeah,
through all 12 dimensions. Exactly. I agree with that. And now that we've worked through all 12 dimensions, we're actually getting the next iteration, which
yeah,
is a higher dimensional reality coming in. So
yeah,
that's a huge, huge piece that we have worked through the 12th dimensional avatar. And now we're actually bringing in the next iteration, which is, I think, 15 or 16, right?
far
So,
out,
right?
far
Yay!
out.
It's exciting. So, everybody who's watching, thank you. Thank you, Todd,
Well,
for what you're doing. And thank you, everybody who's on this call, because we've all been doing this not necessarily by ourselves, but I am seeing a next level of the soul group coming together and
I think
saying,
it's like,
"Hey, let's do it together,"
yeah,
right?
it's like a spiritual confidence. Like you can
Yeah.
see it in the collective.
Yes.
And really, I mean, it's almost like intuitive. Like you
Yeah,
can't put your finger on it, but you know it's there.
it's a feeling.
Yeah, it is
It's
feeling. Feeling is like a key word,
it's
isn't it?
a feeling. It's a feeling. And we're in this Aquarius. I mean, the age of Aquarius, like it's real and it's beautiful and everything's direct and a lot of the stagnation is gone. And so it feels amazing. And it really is the age of Aquarius. And that's what we're in. And we get to feel it without the distortion of the past, of
Yeah,
what, maybe our parents or even us, in our younger yes, 8 billion avatars, right? And
that's right.
so and the kids, this is all about the kids. I mean, I have an 11-year-old. Like I
Well,
knew
what's
early
that
on.
like? I've heard so many stories about these kids from in the womb all the way to, young adults, but what's it like having an 11-year-old?
Deep breaths. I mean, I knew, when he came in, like he started talking. I started talking to him early in utero. So I knew he was a badass, like galactic, quantum being. So
Wow.
I had a full on conversation and relationship when he was in utero, and it was great. And then the minute he was born, it was like nothing because he came into a body. So it was a really interesting,
How has
coming
it
into
progressed? How's it progressed?
it's been amazing. I mean, I attuned him to Reiki when he was 3 months old. I just put a video on and put him in front of it because I knew, and I talked to his guides early on and I knew how powerful of a being he was. So my job in the beginning was like mother, and then it turned into teacher. And I've spoke light language to him since he was a baby. So I've been prepping him on a very, subconscious level
So
to
he's bilingual,
well,
universal
he's
lingual.
aware, but he's 11 and a half. So now it's like daddy and it's, he wants to just
Mm,
play video games. So, but he
mm,
has it all in him. And
yeah.
so I'm like, my job's
Well,
done. My job's done.
one of the things I notice is whether it be a situation like that where you're living with someone that's your child, or like you were talking about when we were talking about how social are we, but
Mm,
social now, I mean, let's face it, with this energy, it can be virtual like this, it can be in person, although that seems to be
yeah.
extremely powerful. And for
Yeah.
a lot of us can be confronting. But what I'm saying is that there's something about it's, aside from the story or what it looks like or what the narrative of it looks like, there's just something about the proximity of two souls.
Hmm.
And I really picked that up from the younger people, because it's not even about, we're not talking spirituality, or it's
Yeah.
just their frequency.
Hmm.
And so it's really kind of a weird deal, because it's like a teacher student student teacher thing, right?
Yeah.
Those
Oh,
aren't the right words, but you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
you're picking something up from them intuitively,
Hmm.
and
Everybody.
they're becoming more comfortable with seeing something that
Yeah.
makes sense to them.
Exactly. And I've told my son that, early. I said, "You're here to protect the planet and the animals. Like that's your role. Like you're a new Earth leader, I'm doing what I can, and a lot of us are, but you're taking over. We're doing
Hmm,
this for you." I mean, he's
that's
11
right.
and a half. So we've got the different ages, and really look what's happened. They're getting a lot of different energetics, and they're getting freedom, this whole schooling thing,
Yeah.
right? They're getting this is
Did
the
you
break.
did you see that? You're in California, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that they want to pay the schools like $2 billion or some crazy? It's billions. It's billions. They want to pay them to open, and I'm like, wait a minute. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not into all the structure, but I'm like, the school system can just say I'm not going to open to the
Yeah.
government. Like, that's pretty cool, right?
It's very interesting what's happening. And what I told my son, his name's Jacob, I said, look at what's happening. You're getting choice. You don't have to be online all day now. And he can go into school a couple days a week. The rest of the time, it's independent learning. It's exactly what I felt was needed for the schools, right?
Hmm,
Because they're saying, hey, if you want to keep your child at home, that's up to you, parents. They're
hmm,
giving the parents some options here, which is what we've never had. It's always
yeah.
been very one sided, like take it or leave it. But now,
Isn't it funny? Well, based on some narratives, that maybe what's occurred has been ill intended, such as creating weather and stuff like that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
isn't it interesting how something that probably is ill intended actually has the opposite effect?
Yeah. Totally. I mean, it's all part of it. This is all because how it comes about, not necessarily, up to us, but what the result is. Exactly. It's like this is what we needed. This is the break. You have to pull out, the old paradigm or the old system. So I always saw it like, wait, this infrastructure is really weird. It's built from the 50s. Nothing's
Yeah.
really changed. But it was built, Todd, at that time for industrial because we were in
Yeah.
war. Right?
Well,
Like it had a
that's
purpose,
right. That's right.
as
Well, I
nefarious as
mean,
it might
I
seem.
think, I think, I think you can just like go back to World War II or
Yeah,
post World War II, like, the way it was presented and settled, and
yeah,
everything was put into motion,
yeah,
subdivisions, borrowing, pushing, borrowing money and just cars. And so it's kind of cool too, because you were
bypass.
talking you were talking about our parents, yeah, like our
Yeah,
parents though, and our grandparents,
yeah,
and what that evolution was like. And now actually, because in the 60s, you saw that social consciousness start to go, hey man, then it got slammed. And
yes,
then we went back into the thing even more hardcore. And
yeah,
then 9/11 hits, and then 2012 comes, and now it's
yeah,
like you just said. I mean, that's a perfect example. Not only do you have more choices in terms of your child's schooling, but
yeah.
also your job. How many people are
Everything.
working at a home now?
Yeah, they're like
You
paying
know,
you to stay home.
I know. Every
Stay
time
home,
you turn around, somebody's in a Zoom meeting that forgets the cameras on and takes their pants
don't
off.
pet the cat, right?
Yeah,
So
but I
exactly,
mean, yeah,
look at
it's
what's happened, and like you said, look at the World War II. I go back to World War II because that really is like the inception, I'll say,
yeah,
of this reality. And what I saw was let's bypass the pain of war and start buying stuff. Let's focus on stuff, right?
yeah, yeah,
Let's not process our emotions. Let's
right,
just go in this direction, which is like what kind of had to be interrupted. So I
yeah,
came in summer of 67, summer of love in Los Angeles, well, no, Orange County. But, I came in at that time because it was like, okay, it's time to bring in this frequency, right, of peace, because that's really what I've brought
right,
through.
right.
So for me, I'm here as like a
Were you conscious 20 years later to when the harmonic resonance thing hit?
was that 87? Yeah, so
Yeah.
interesting because I graduated college in 1987.
Wow.
Or I had a 2-year, I went into the fashion industry. So
Hmm.
I graduated high school in 85. So 87, I was kind of free. I had a lot of intuition, but I actually wasn't, focused in this way. I kind of went into creative and then went into business and internet. So I kind of went into that software side and technology, which is ironically
Hmm.
what I do now. It's just quantum. But I
It,
was kind of playing in that.
it's interesting too to me how technology is a big part of
Mhm.
this experience, because anyone that's had even just a little bit of connection to, let's just say past incarnations or past civilizations, there was a technological aspect to it. And then people talk about AI, and I
Yeah.
always look at it like, how do we know that we're all not still in the one over here and go, let's just create something? Well, even if it's just thought that it's taken on, whatever proportions it's taken on, it's still the same God substance.
It's
You know
still
what I
the
mean?
same.
It's
Exactly,
still
and
the
this goes
same
back.
God substance. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm saying this go back to the source seeds, right? The seeds. We're talking about
Mm.
seeds.
Hmm.
So if you look at it, everything's seeds. And all of the discussions, all of the agreements or disagreements are about seeds and resources, but seeds are everything. So soul seed, we're coming from that seed. Now, sure, if there's a distortion in one of the right, one of the cells,
Hmm.
what's going to happen? It's going to create, and AI could be a result. For me, when
Hmm.
I see that, it's a system, and I'll say Orion because Orion is in charge of all the technology. Whenever you see tech, that means Orion's been here.
Mm.
So I think AI came from, again, the industrialization of turning people into,
Yeah.
right, robots. So,
How does yeah, and it starts to physicalize, literally
yeah.
transhumanism and all that. But how does like, so something like I always look at like, okay, Jesus or whatever the essence is, as a
Mhm.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Like I know Soulogy is a consciousness
Hmm.
in and of itself. I mean, it showed me and Morgan that 2 or 3 years ago, but that's just an example. So when you talk about if you see anything anything technology, Orion's been there. Are you saying, no right or wrong? I'm just trying to understand. Like that consciousness is an active pursuant of whatever, whatever's happening there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, because if we really don't need it, if you come right down to it, we don't really need it to
No.
communicate,
Mm-mm.
right? But it tells you what stage the collective is at,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we used to have all these abilities, right? In these other timelines, Atlantis, Lemuria, we've had these technologies, Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
Mesopotamia, right? So we think, oh, we're so high tech, but a lot of this stuff has already been here.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you look
We're
at it
still
as,
we're still on the Earth flip phone, basically. No, I get what you're saying though. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
so all it is giving you an idea of where we're at,
Mm-hmm.
and also what's coming in, because our abilities are so much more
Yeah.
than we've led to believe, as we all know, which is why we had the big awakening, or we had the harmonic convergence, and then we've had these awakenings. They're just allowing more people to access
Mm-hmm.
these original soul seeds, right? The
Yeah.
seeds of
And it's
creation.
also like, a manifestation. I made the joke about transhumanism, but the manifestation of what's actually happening to us. Like,
Yeah,
like these devices and the internet in general has served other purposes, such as helping us to
yeah.
process information faster, move
Oh,
faster,
yeah.
learn faster, and as well as telepathy and
Oh, yeah.
intuition. When you communicate with people, and
Oh, yeah. The tech. Totally,
yeah,
but we are the tech. That's the
yeah,
other thing.
exactly,
We are
exactly.
actually the quantum computer, if you really
That's
think
right.
about
Yeah,
it, right?
exactly.
But we haven't been also operating at our speed, at the speed that
Mm,
we're supposed to operate at.
mm-mm. No.
So, as we turn on and open up and release all or transmute rather, the denser planes, we have been able to access without the distortions. That's a really important key here, because distortion means that there's some kind of frequency interacting and interfering with our ability to access the higher realms,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That is what awakening or ascension means, is, oh, we're able to actually tune in, discern, access, embody, and that's why we're all embodying one big body. I just saw a
That's
giant.
right.
I just saw a giant, Todd.
Did you really? They've been, you know what? This is strange that like the last 2 nights, it's been like, I
Giant.
guess they are, they were us, that, I don't know how many years back, 10,000, 20,000. And, but yeah, we were big, like we were big.
Yeah,
And it's like,
Nephilim. They're huge. We
we're
were huge.
coming back, we're coming back
Yeah, the
to it.
giants are coming back. Yep, I can
That's
feel it.
us.
I see
That's
it.
us.
It's us. A lot of us have been giants. I see it in my son. I'm like, is he part giant? Like, I can feel the frequency. Right.
I think we've been all of it.
Right. We've been all of it.
Honestly, I think we've been all of it.
Yeah. If you're an
So,
ancient soul, yes,
so
totally.
before we get out of here, tell us how to get in touch with you, Valerie A. I just want to make that clear. And what you're doing online, if you do sessions or you have
Yeah.
a group or whatever like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. And thank you so much for having me. And
Mhm.
thank you all the
Mhm.
comments. I didn't get to everybody, but I'm on Facebook. You can reach me there. I have a website, which is just my full name. I do sessions. I do a lot of activations. So I'll just kind of get like, oh, I need to do something here. So I do activations online. I do private sessions. I do have a group container coming up. Feminine Blueprint. I haven't done a group container in a while. So what I notice is, people align with the codes, whatever wants to come through. I do want to do bigger things, like you're saying. I am seeing us do things offline. So I am feeling coming back together in the offline, probably outside. I
Mhm.
really want to gather with a lot of people. So I'm feeling the call, which I haven't really felt in a while. Um,
We're
so
gonna
yeah,
have a Soulogy Fest in Sedona on
I
May.
saw that. I want to come.
Our first ever. First, yeah,
I would
we
love
have
to be part of it.
yeah, we have
I
our
would
first
love to
meeting
be there.
coming up like in a couple days. But
Okay, beautiful.
but
I love
yeah. Well,
yeah,
there'll be information out there. But I
yeah,
agree with you. I think
seeing
there's
it.
gonna be a lot more physical gatherings.
We're back.
Makes sense.
We right? Because now we get to
Yeah.
share that frequency
Yeah.
because that's the monad. I'm really seeing that's what the monad, the soul groups are about. We're coming back into union. This
Yeah.
is the group union. And because the couples, and so I'm seeing a lot more couples being
Hmm.
involved in that, or
Yeah.
maybe just a couple of the couples, right, in holding the seeds for the rest of the group.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, reach out. I'm pretty much online.
Right on. All right. Well, we'll see you in 2021, maybe
Yeah,
in
thanks everybody.
Sedona, end
Thank
of
you.
May,
Yeah, that'd be
and
great. That's
keep doing
my
what you're
birthday month.
doing. Thank you for what you're doing, and
Thank you, Todd. You too.
all of those out there like you. Just
Thank you
keep
so
doing
much.
it.
Thank
You're the
you.
ones that got us here, so keep
Oh.
on rocking. Peace out.